I'm
We've
glad.
got we've got 5 crates of yellow and purple roses, and we're getting a trellis to go in the backyard to put all the roses through.
What
We're
does
going
that
to put out a big green astroturf carpet to cover the ground.
Or some kind of ground covering, because we have to do something to make the backyard look pretty if we're going to be doing it in the backyard.
You ever consider maybe making a 3D situation we can all log into?
That's what,
Second Life.
Yeah, that would be like, but you said Second Life is a cesspool of pedophiles, so I'm not saying that.
I don't remember saying that, but okay.
You advise me not to let my daughter log into it because
Second Life is pretty. I mean, it's pretty out there.
Okay, so I'm just saying that.
but this would be or we could do it in that game that everyone likes to play.
Animal Crossing.
No,
Yeah, that one.
the other one.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft.
No, the other one.
Okay.
Fallout 76.
Any of the ones that you guys will like.
No, the one with the vampire cows.
Vampire cows. Vampire cows.
You build
Diablo.
Stuff. Minecraft.
Minecraft. See, what's hilarious is that my daughter loves Minecraft, so you could well, you wouldn't want to do this. I'm telling you don't want to do this, but you could give her the job of designing your wedding chapel, whatever.
I definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah, you would get a place of wolves and flying. Anyway, podcast.
I'm quite attached to your offspring, but I'm just I'm having enough trouble as it is taking control of this event. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to wear and what it's going to look like. So I'm like waking up with occasional inspirations like, oh, maybe we should have leaves on the ground because it's going to be autumn.
To which I say, where are we going to get the leaves?
And I'm thinking, we have leaves. It's going to be fall.
You're in California. There's no autumn here.
There's autumn. There are leaves on the ground. Every fall, there's raking that happens.
One thing you said, I'm having trouble taking control of this thing. Who is removing power from you? You are indeed the bride.
I am allergic to event planning.
That's what I do for a living.
You helped me plan mine.
Yeah, I helped you plan yours. You had the plan, and I helped implement it. But the problem is,
you have Pickle Water. He seems like a planning kind of guy.
I know, but then we have very different priorities when it comes to wedding planning. He's like fast, cheap, and completely in control, and I'm like big and boisterous and completely out of control. And I want dancers, and I want dancing, and I want flamethrowers, and he wants, to go to Vegas.
Yeah, given my choice, we'd be doing it in Vegas, honestly. I've never been to Vegas, so it would be a twofer for me.
Yeah, I would not advise you to go there only because you're not missing anything.
Well, no, we would stay. We could stay in Circus and get the wedding done. Round trip tickets before COVID were $150 for round trip tickets with a hotel room.
But why do you have to go to a town in the middle of a desert that's known for sin and for not taking marriage seriously? Why do you have to travel? You can go down to if you never go, you can go down to City Hall. I've been to marriages at City Hall in San Francisco.
Two reasons. Okay. It's fun and kitschy and boisterous, and I've never been there.
Okay, you've never been there, but I just I've been there multiple times. I've never fully had a lot of fun there because it's if you're a sensitive person, it's not a fun place. Okay, let's do the podcast.
Alrighty.
Velvet Ramble.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. One more. That would be you in the red shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Welcome to another edition of the Velvet Ramble podcast, featuring me, the Velvet Fist, and Professor Ramble, and special guest Gherkin Pickerwater and Karen. By the way, do I look centered in frame? Just asking.
Yep. You're very centered. You're right here. For some reason, you're the main person. You're like the biggest screen. So.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, how are you doing?
You look good. Your hair's growing back. You look cute.
Yeah. Thanks. Ironically, I was thinking earlier today and earlier this week that there was like a moment 2 weeks. I didn't feel right having no hair at all. I felt like it just felt a little too hairless. And there was a moment 2 weeks ago when I had just enough hair to feel cute. And now I feel like I have too much hair, and I don't know, not that I have too much hair, but I don't know what my hair is doing. And I feel like I look like a weirdo again. So I don't know.
I think you look lovely.
Well, you're obligated to say that.
I also really thought you were super sexy bald. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's.
I'm allowed to say that. I'm her fiance.
No. It's like you have to say that, so whatever.
I don't have to. There are other sexy things
people
about her.
Around,
He's actually, and I didn't believe that I thought that he was the only one who thought that until I posted a picture on Instagram and someone else said that, and I was like, okay, fine, I will apologize for doubting his judgment.
And then I had that picture turned into a portrait.
Yes.
Because she's so cute in it.
Yep. Anyway, how are the others of you who are not me doing?
It's smoky and hot. It's smoky and hot, but I'm in school, so things are weird. School is weird, and smoky and hot is weird, and general insecurity about the world is weird. Mm-hmm. How about you, Karen and Professor?
Karen?
I'm doing all right.
Getting good grades?
Huh?
Getting good grades.
Future's so bright, you gotta wear shades.
We've got water coming out of the ceiling because our neighbor's some kind of bathroom fixture is leaking. This is the neighbor I've called the cops on several times for being noisy.
Wait, have I heard these stories?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Okay.
He's drunk all the time. And basically, he tried to give us his credit card to pay for the damages to our ceiling twice while he was drunk, which was nice, but odd. Like, you don't go handing your neighbor your credit card. So anyway, it'll all get sorted.
He was confused.
Yeah.
How about you, Professor? Oh, sorry.
He sounds like a problematic neighbor.
Yeah.
Is he alone?
He has a son and I guess fiance that live there kind of on and off.
Oh, on and off.
That's what the story is. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know the whole story there.
Oh, okay. Because a drunk man with the leaky plumbing, that sounds like a person who doesn't have access to the controlling influence of feminine help. So
he could probably use them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He could use some, like a drunk man handing somebody's credit card. That sounds like a guy who is not really focused on what's going on. I think everything's great. Busy as usual. Ironically, this fire has been happening. So I went out to Oakland today, and I came back because a friend of mine. I think I told the office there that one of my friends, he was evacuated last weekend. Mm-hmm. And so I drove down 680 to see, but I couldn't really see the fire. And I got in trouble when I got back because somebody wasn't happy that I did that. But I just don't see. I figured if it was really dangerous, they would have shut the road. And it's like, okay. Yeah. So
someone posted an announcement on that they evacuated certain parts of Alameda County. So
yeah. Well, ironically, when I was coming down that road, there was a big alert that came on. I was listening to some music, and then boom, it came on alert. But it was the unincorporated Alameda County, which is not where I was. And you would expect, because the thing is, you would expect, if all of you have been here, so they're tree area, like Santa Cruz Mountains. I have some friends in Santa Cruz I should probably call, because Santa Cruz Mountains is trees all. I'm surprised it's all not in fires. Trees all the way. I was around for the Oakland fires. They evacuated my sister's school, Mills. So when they burned the hills. So I know that it's possible for fire to burn stuff. And I just think, it's just. I mean, what next? I think we ticked them all off. I mean, I think we've gone on the four horsemen. Pestilence, disease, famine, and war. So yeah.
What is pestilence?
Oh, disease. Well, sorry, locusts and stuff like that. Locust.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Have we had pestilence?
Well, it's locust here.
Trump supporters. Come on. So yeah, they didn't exist before, and now they exist in large numbers, and they cluster.
And to be fair, this year is a cicada year.
Yeah, it's true. That's true too. True too. Yeah. So my point being is that it's just all these things. It's just we had fires last year, but not as bad as this. And and we had a storm without a fire, a storm without rain, a thunderstorm without rain, and more is on the way too. So it just seems like earthquakes. I mean, what else can happen? It's like
Godzilla.
Well,
Yeah.
That could
you know,
happen.
see, you say that jokingly, but that nuclear power plant blew up. Not to, when it blew up long enough for a lizard to have been infected by the radiation and to have grown to
I
adult
thought
size.
Godzilla was a dog.
Godzilla was not.
Are you sure?
Godzilla was a lizard. It was reptilian.
Oh, I know Godzilla is, but I thought he started off as a dog.
I don't. Okay. Okay. I must confess, this is an area where
Are you
knowledge of this-
serious or are you kidding?
I'm
Yeah.
serious.
You're serious?
I thought it was a lizard because I thought yeah.
Well, he looks like a dinosaur. I mean, you would think that he was a lizard, which is why it's surprising that he was a dog.
Well,
but
a dinosaur
continue
or
on.
a
I'm going to look it
bird.
up.
Lizard or a bird. Actually, so I wanted to follow up on some things, Professor and Karen. So, Professor, do you have any updates on your Tushy situation?
I ordered the silver and white one. It hasn't come yet. There's several different options. I've also been looking at so that's the update on that. I actually, it takes longer. We ordered the fridge. It's not coming until September, and I guess this is the same because and it's pissing me off because this post office thing is going to affect that as well. So
sorry. Actually, and I'm glad you mentioned the fridge because I would like a photo of it when it arrives.
Sure. Oh, no problem. We bought it from Costco, and then they said, "Oh, it's arriving on August 8th," and then not September, a month hence. So
yeah. My mom's getting a fridge from Lowe's, and well, hers should be arriving on the 25th. So we'll see if that happens.
Right.
Our stove is finally coming.
Yeah.
Yay.
For those who are following along at home, our stove is supposed to come on. Well, actually, we recorded last Sunday, and at that point they were saying it was supposed to come on the 20th. But then we actually got a call on Sunday saying, "Oh no, it's coming on Monday." And then when it came on Monday, it was
9 o'clock at night.
Broken. So we couldn't accept it. And
How was
then
it broken?
The sidewall was broken off at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And we had no idea what kind of actual damage that meant on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the guys came like super late. And they were just like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll just take it back to the store and then we'll bring you a new one tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay." And then we called the next day and we couldn't get hold of anyone. And then we went to the store on Wednesday and they were like, "Oh, it hasn't been returned yet."
See, last podcast I opined at length about the deficiencies of this customer service people you're talking about, and I was criticized. I told you these people are not human; they're robots.
They are human. The problem is the company. It is American Freight, and they are not ideal.
I will say a funny thing that happened this morning was that we finally got, after like I think another trip or two to the store and several more days of making phone calls, we finally got them to reschedule an installation date. So then but then I was like, when I got the email, they said, "Oh, it'll be installed on September 2nd." And I was like, "Okay, but what will be installed on September 2nd?" There's no information in the email about what appliance we're getting. So then I called, because I had this thought at 6 a.m. I called the customer service number, the 1-800 number that they have, to see if they could tell me, "Hey, can you give me some information about what unit I'm actually getting?" Because ironically, I placed 2 orders through the American Freight website, and neither of those items were delivered. And my orders that appear on the website just show the appliances that I ordered and will never get. So then I called customer service to say, "Oh, hey, can you give me this information?" And they were like, the guy literally said, "This is customer service. You actually have to call the store to get that information because this is customer service."
Okay, so we can put it in here, but you continue to claim people are human.
Yes. They're as human. They're as human as the person who fucks up your fries at McDonald's. They're still human. They're just in a minimum wage entry level job they don't care about.
Actually, I will say my fries have never been fucked up at McDonald's.
Oh man, when I was recovering from the bad things that I did, and I was super, super crazy, I actually tried to jump over the counter at a McDonald's to get a hold of the teenager behind the register because they were pissing me off so much because they just couldn't get a very basic order right. I mean, given I was insane, but Yeah, I never went back to that McDonald's.
They were so they were probably messing with you. So.
And I can't believe that did not come up on the villain episode of the podcast.
Yeah, well, I forgot about it until just this moment. There's a lot from that period that lays hidden in a bank of low-lying clouds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but actually, in response to that guy, I said, well, I was calling for. So he said, this is customer service, and I said I was actually calling for customer service. I didn't realize that your systems weren't integrated. So then I waited, until the store opened at 10 a.m. and called. And I've actually talked to that woman now that I yelled at last week. I've talked to her twice more times, including today. And I seem to have a nice rapport now. I call, she says, oh, hey. And I say, oh, hey, thank you for what you've done for me so far. Can you give me this additional piece of information?
Yeah, because she does not have emotions or memory.
Yes, she does.
She's not human.
Okay. Because I think she remembers me now because I've given her such a hard time on the phone. So now I try to be really nice and she tries to be really nice. So,
which is how it should work.
As her programming would indicate. Okay, let's just move on.
That's where we are. We don't have a stove yet, but we will be getting one hopefully in September sometime.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a saga.
Yeah. And Karen, are you going to follow through on your whole was it Blue Apron or Home Chef or one of those meal services?
Yeah. HelloFresh was the one I got a coupon for. So
okay.
I can try that one.
I'll be interested to hear how that goes.
Yeah. I'll be interested to try it.
Cooking stuff?
Yeah.
It's cooking. Like they send you a meal kit. You can get 3 or 4 per week. They give you all the ingredients and a recipe.
Highly recommend. Was it Blue Box or some
Blue Apron?
Blue Apron. I used to have that. I don't know. It backs up after a while because there's so much stuff coming. But I highly every meal I ever cooked with it, I actually really enjoyed, and the people I cooked for it really enjoyed it. So highly recommend it. Yeah.
Okay, good information. All right, and then we had a challenge from last week of bringing a piece of media this week to share. And who wants to go first?
I have shared mine in the.
I know, but you have to share yours in the recording.
So mine is a short novel by Thomas Pynchon. Pynchon is known for really dense, heavy, maybe a little bit surrealistic novels like Gravity's Rainbow and V. But this is The Crying of Lot 49, which is about conspiracies, Professor Ramble, and the post office and a secret alternative post office that exists outside of the normal postal service, and auctions and stamp collecting. What is that? Philately, and just
philately. Yeah.
It's a kind of for the time probably not futuristic, but it is an alternate history, alternate reality America that takes place in the 80s when it was written, and has some science fiction elements to it and conspiracy stuff. It's really an excellent book. It's called The Crying of Lot 49 by Thomas Pynchon.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I'm looking for a good book to read, so I'll definitely I'll definitely will read that one. Thanks for recommending it.
Yeah. You're welcome.
And Karen, what was yours?
I don't know if you can see it. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. This is a novel by Grady Hendrix. It's about 400 pages, but it went really, really fast. I read it in just a couple of days. It's set locally here in Charleston, South Carolina. And it's kind of neat, well, for me, because living here, like I recognize all the places that they talk about. But it also deals with local issues. Like there's kind of this white upper class that's old Charleston that's been here for generations. And then there's kind of a Black community that lives kind of out in the sticks. And there's a vampire that is preying on the Black community's children. And they're trying to kind of enlist the help of the upper class white people to sort of help them. And they have a hard time.
So Mindhunter? It sounds like the plot from Mindhunter.
I don't know that.
No. I'm joking. There was the Mindhunter was this series on Netflix about the first serial killer profiling team So the last story they did was the Atlanta child killing Atlanta murderers. So it's the same kind of thing where these mothers in Atlanta are trying to get the police, the FBI to look at their at the deaths of their children, take the deaths of their children seriously. So that's what you just said.
That does sound really similar. That's interesting. I'll have to check that out.
So
yeah,
that
so
is
it's
the
a
Southern.
neat book. It's called
What's it
the
called
Southern
again?
Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's a
Southern
good
Book
one.
Yeah,
And it's funny too.
If possible, if you guys could type just so we get the names right when you type it into the after the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you already have, some of them you already have, but
Yeah.
All right. So, Professor.
Well, I overdid. So I gave a whole bunch of I give a book recommendation just because I always recommend this book, Guns, Drugs, and Steel by Jared Diamond. It's a kind of a big book, but it's a book that literally changed my life. I recommend it to everybody. It's a book about history. So it's how the world got to be the way it is, and it's a really cool read, and it really, at least for me, it changed the way I thought about everything, about stuff. And then because of Picklewater, you were talking about at some point about exercising. So there's a book, if you can see, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. In this book, there's a short story called China. So it's very short, but it's about this old black couple, and then the husband of the two, who ironically worked for the post office, decides to get involved in kung fu. So that's it goes from there. And then as far as you said, I gave a musicals, obviously the Book of Mormon by I do mean the one by Trey Parker or whatever.
Yeah.
And whatever.
The South Park guys.
South Park guys. The even the album, which is on Spotify, is funny because if anybody who's into comedy and you really there's a reason why the real Mormons advertised in the musicals advertisements, saying that if you see the thing, because it really at the end of it has a message that's not really mean to Mormons. And then finally, I gave a podcast, Hardcore History by Dan Carlin. Is just
you said hardcore history.
Hardcore. I'll put a link to the thing. It's called Dan
hardcore. Carlin, I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Hardcore, like hardcore, like hardcore history. Right. So it's basically Dan Carlin is not. He's not. I don't know what he is. He's. I guess he's. Let me just say he took a history course in college, but he's not a historian. So basically he describes history, but from more of a layman's perspective, whatever. And so his opus is The Wrath of Khans, where he describes the rise of the Mongol Empire from beginning to end, which is it's unbelievable. It's just and the way he describes it is it's very moving. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's a terrible. The Mongol, they kill more people than anybody in the world, than even for the world. But just how they went from this small little tribe to this big thing. And then he also has one in Japan and some other stuff. But just if you go to his site, anything he does, if you want to know about history, from a descriptive storytelling perspective, like this is what happened and this is what happened and all that kind of stuff, in English, not in in 1742 the king, that kind of stuff. It's cool. That's my recommendations. Yeah. Okay.
So I will say, personally, I dropped the ball a bit because I don't have any literary recommendations to make.
You were reminding us.
I know, because I want to make sure that we follow up on these things, even if I drop the ball about these things.
You reminded us to do it. You reminded me. I felt guilty.
You have some kind of recommendation.
I didn't tell you to feel guilty. I just wanted to remind you. You don't have to feel guilty for not following through. I fall down on the job of things all the time.
So do you have no recommendations?
I mean, I have recommendations, but they're not I don't know.
Give me any.
So I was trying to for me right now, I have a list of things that I've been meaning to catch up with, more so than a list of things that I have caught up with. I keep hearing good things about Lovecraft County, so I want to watch that. But it's hard to recommend that because that's on HBO and not everyone has premium channels. I don't even have HBO. Like I have heard good things about The Watchmen.
Watchmen.
On again the HBO one, not the movie. And again, I don't have HBO, so I recommend it, but I can't recommend it in a way that's super serious because I've only heard good things about it. I haven't seen it, and B, not everyone has HBO. The Fiona Apple album, Fetch the Bolt Cutters, I will recommend, but mostly because, again, that's a thing that I need to follow up on. So if other people listen to it too, then I can have someone to discuss it with. And that's more of a, it's interesting Fiona Apple's trajectory is interesting because she came from a very traditional kind of standard pop space in a certain way, and it has gradually moved into like weirder, more experimental, more primal spaces. And so it's interesting.
You were playing her today, and she sounds a little bit like Kate Bush and a little bit like who did I confuse her with?
Tori Amos.
Tori Amos, somewhere between Kate Bush and Tori Amos.
Yeah, and to me, like I don't listen to much Kate Bush at all. So I can't make that comparison. But to me, it sounds more like she's going from a more commercial space to a more academic space because she reminds me so much of like the weird jazz that I heard at college, the weird avant jazz and avant classical that you hear. That's more like they're less worried about sounding accessible and more interested in expressing an emotion through how they do things, and that seems to be the space that she's moving into more and more with each album. So it's challenging for me to listen to because when I listen to music, I like to sing along, and it's harder to do that when people are moving away from. It's very easy to sing along to a pop song because they're following a very expected melody. But when people start singing more primarily, or when they start bringing more emotion into their music, then they don't worry so much about following that strict melody because they're worried more about conveying an emotion with their phrasing, and it throws me off. I can't sing along, and then you have you're in a space where you have to just more sit down and take it in and think about it, and I'm not always in a mood to do that, but it's recommended. And on that line, the other thing that I kind of wanted to recommend was there's some avant jazz that I really enjoy, like Matthew Shipp, I think is his name, and also Exploding Star Orchestra. And again, this is not like the normal, it's not the very melodic jazz, not the bebop, but it's much more avant cerebral jazz, so not super accessible, but
Exploding what?
Exploding Star Orchestra.
Star? This is like the kind of people used to play on your radio show? Yeah.
And it's interesting how my relationship with music is there's some stuff that's fun to listen to and sing along with, and then there's other stuff that's fun to just like sit down and be challenged by. And then there's another class of music like industrial noise where it just kind of like relaxes your brain to have something like that in the background. This is somewhere between industrial noise and cerebral sit down and just kind of listen and see where your mind goes music. So anyway, that kind of that's where I am. And also this my entire week for some reason has been Kermit arms, because anytime I start talking about anything and I don't exactly know what to say, my arms start doing this and then I start feeling like Kermit. Just in case you're wondering what the hell I'm doing right now. This is how I express myself now because I have no words and I just do this with my hands. Anyway, that's where we are.
So what's our topic this week?
Stop rushing me. Why are you always rushing me?
Because we've been at this for half an hour and we haven't got to the topic yet.
I know. But can you just stop?
No.
It's like you don't have any trust that I have any sense of forward momentum. So I just need a bit more faith than that.
You have my faith. All
right. Anyway, now that we're done with that, so the person who is in charge of this week's topic is Karen. So, Karen, would you like to introduce your topic?
Is that a background on your thing, Karen?
Yeah, it's the what did we say that was?
Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds.
So how do you do? You can. I didn't know you could do that on Skype, but I guess I'll figure it out next time.
Yeah, if you click on your little video, you can change the background.
Okay. Anyway, go on.
Pretty cool. So I was thinking about with all the fires going on. I saw an article earlier this week that Big Basin had pretty much been destroyed as we know it, and that was really pretty heartbreaking for me because I have a lot of really happy memories there. And it got me thinking about other places in nature, like places I grew up and just places I've visited over the years that have been really special to me. Like, for example, my grandpa's place, he lives in upstate New York before he moved to South Carolina. He had 12 acres of land in the mountains. I still dream about that place. Like, I think about it all the time. It's still very alive in my memory, even though I haven't seen it in years. And so I was wondering if other people have places like that they still think about often, or that are just kind of, I don't know, maybe like even a mental escape, just knowing that place exists. Does it bring you peace to know about it?
Oh.
I think one of you mentioned having a place like that.
Yeah.
Would you care to share?
Oh, so okay. I guess I can start. It's a very good talk because I've made places like that. I think the closest one to here would be the Santa Cruz Mall, and not the current one. It was because I went to UC Santa Cruz, so I think I've mentioned this in the facts before that when I went there, I was trying to get at the time when I went there when I came to America, like Eddie Murphy, I needed to. I was on a mission to go to Stanford because my father went, and then so I tried to go to schools, and then I did get into Stanford. I got into Berkeley to the mathematics department, which was really. And I got to this college. I got right to the computer engineering department at this little campus I never heard of called Santa Cruz. I didn't even know it existed. And the lady that was living with Mrs. Sack, she's the person I regard as my grandmother, even though she's not really my grandmother, because she always gave me good advice. So she looked at me. She said, "Oh, Chiquita, I know I've a lot of kids have gone to Stanford, but I kind of think that you might enjoy Santa Cruz." So she said, "Why don't we drive?" And at the time she was teaching me how to drive. So I said, "Why don't we take a drive down there and go see it?" So we went down Highway 1, not down Highway 17. By all the way down the Highway 1 by Pacific Ocean. Very beautiful drive. And then we got to Santa Cruz in the evening. It was very beautiful. We drove right down the middle of this mall, and it was right in the middle of a Take Back the Night festival. I don't know if you guys know what those were.
Yeah.
Right. So you can imagine, young lad, I don't know how it's 19, driving down this mall, which was just full of bare-breasted ladies, whatever. So, which was very interesting. And then that was my first vision of that mall. And then from the mall we went out to the campus, and now that mall has since been was completely destroyed in the Loma Prieta earthquake. It just completely wiped out. So it doesn't exist anymore. So, but I'll never forget it. And I always feel bad that it's gone. And then what replaced it doesn't have it. It's not even, nobody will ever know because it's not even close to the. I'm not just talking about the bare slate. The old one had fountains and stuff like this. The new one it's just very commercial. It's not really interesting. And then the other thing, of course, is the town I grew up in, Nigeria. It's this town called Asaba, which is this town on the banks of the River Niger. And when my parents moved there, it was just a town, goats, no paved streets, goats wandering the city streets. Kind of town you imagine, like and we lived. And that's the place where I had the most fun in my childhood because we bought a farm. That's where we had the chicken farm. The only terrible thing was that's where I acquired my true knowledge of how evil chickens were from living in that town. But it was very nice. And now, unfortunately for the town, a lady who comes from that town ended up being the consort of a very corrupt president. So when the area was made into a state, that town became the capital. And of course now it has flyovers, it has an airport, when I say it as an airport, you just can't imagine how shocking that is. It's just, when I was growing up there, the idea that you could fly into this town in a plane is just, it's madness, But now it's, my sister lives there. It's now a big town, has flyovers, and I hate it. I hate it. I despise it. I don't like it. I don't like going back. I mean, I don't hate it, but it's just compared to what was there before. It's and if you, as far as any place that currently that I like, Monterey down the road. I love Monterey. I love the aquarium. I go there with my daughter all the time. That still exists. So the other two don't exist. That still exists, and I really hope that it continues to exist the way it is. That's with me.
Nice.
That's neat.
Yeah, I will say that I also have fond associations with Santa Cruz, in part because you went to school there, and in part because a friend of mine who went to school there, and it was always a treat getting to visit, and it was always, and once I learned how to drive, and once I had my own car, it was always a treat, like just making that drive, just because the winding mountain road aspect of it was always fun for me.
I spun out twice on that. On top of the hill, I spun out twice on that hill, 2 times.
Yeah, I have never done that, but I did at one point, or several points in my life, make it a challenge to figure out how quickly I could zip up and down.
Gracious. I've been in Santa Cruz once. Played mini golf. Went to a haunted house. Saw a terrible movie. It was a great time.
Yeah. So when I used to go weekly, one of the places I mostly enjoyed was going. So I love the boardwalk just for being the boardwalk. But I also liked, there was like a lot of rock formations on the beach, and hanging out on those rock formations at night, specifically when there weren't that many other people around, was always like a treat. There was one set of rocks that had like a little, it felt like a cave. It was pretty public, but it felt like a very private place when you could just like go into the rocks and just kind of hang out there and not. Yeah. So that's like one place that I really just have I don't even remember where it is, but I just have a very fond association with it. The whole notion of driving through mountain roads might have been a comforting thing for me, because when I was a kid growing up in Milpitas was, I mean, I might have the same feelings about Milpitas that you have about Asaba, whereas when I was growing up, it was known as a cow town. It was just, growing up, you're down the road from the dump, and it was just like you drive up the other road, and and within 5 minutes you're looking at horses and cows at the side of the road, which was kind of fun. And every Sunday my parents and I would like just take a ride through the foothills that were there, because another feature of my childhood was just like from my childhood home, just looking up the street, you could see the foothills. Maybe I think they're called the Calaveras Hills, and so that was very much a feature of my childhood, just a very big landmark in my brain. And not so much when they were green, maybe because it's California, but mostly like I really relate to those hills when they're very brown.
Like now.
So seeing them in winter doesn't do anything for me, but seeing them in summer when the hills are all brown, like that reminds me so much of just like being a child growing up in this area. And so, but every Sunday my parents and I would go on, just get in the car and start driving through these hills. We'd be in these 2-lane roads. We'd start in Milpitas, and we just go riding around and end up in San Jose. And then at the end of the trip in San Jose, we'd go to this egg ranch, and we get a dozen eggs from this chicken farmer, I guess, and then go home. So that was like, so I think driving on mountain roads kind of maybe just reminds me of that. The whole windy, twisty 2-lane road thing just makes me feel very comforted in certain ways, during the day, not when I'm trying to make an Instacart delivery, but just when I'm doing it for myself. I appreciate that. Another thing about growing up in Milpitas was there's this park called Ed Levin Park, which is also up in the hills. And a fun thing that we would do there in summer was obviously California and the Bay Area specifically, we didn't have snow, so there was no snow sledding. But if we went into Ed Levin Park and brought a tray, we could go sledding on the grass because the grass was so long there. So we would do that on on big sheets of cardboard. So that was fun. And then the last thing I will say, you said neighborhood parks count, and that reminded me of the one the most funny traumatic experience that I had in a neighborhood park, which was when I was a campfire girl, which is kind of like a Girl Scout, but not, because you're a campfire girl. one day I was waiting for a meeting to start, and so the meeting was starting late. So then I just went to a neighborhood park to play until it started. And I decided to. I was a largish child at this point, 8 or 9 or whatever. But I decided to see if I can get into one of the baby swings, and I got stuck in the baby swing.
Oh.
So then they called the fire department to get me out.
Ooh. Where were your parents? Where's your mother? Where's your mom?
I wasn't at home. I was, waiting. I was near the site of the Campfire Girl meeting, waiting for it to start. So.
Because it's so hilarious that because my child is 9 years old, and the idea that this could happen to her is unthinkable, because how could she have gone in that place without adult supervision?
I
know you told me these stories, but I tell them that it seems like. I wanted to ask you. You went to Milpitas High.
Uh-huh.
How many years before the movie River's Edge did you go there?
It was after the movie River's Edge. River's Edge came out in 1987.
Okay, so the River's Edge.
And that actually so River's Edge is a movie starring Keanu Reeves and Crispin Glover and I think Ione Skye, and it's about a murder that took place in Milpitas. And I think that murder took place in the 70s, where a guy killed a girl and left her up near the reservoir or something, and then told his friends about it. So they all went up at various points and saw her body, but no one actually reported it. And then that became a gigantic story, obviously, when it was found out. And there were all these news stories about kids, back then being so callous and whatever. And but I went to high school after River's Edge came out. Funnily enough, when I was in high school, there was another story that took place based on the local newspapers. I think the Mercury News sent an underground reporter to Milpitas High to just see what the kids were like, and then she wrote a news article about it. And I actually met her because I was in classes with her, and it was interesting because I was that kind of person. I was like, oh, let me show you the ropes, even though I wasn't popular in any way, but still I liked to be kind to strangers. So I was like, oh, let me show you the ropes, blah blah blah. And and I remember her being kind of like, oh yeah. And then it was interesting when she wrote the article was very kind of critical of how the students were at the school. And I was like, well, that's because she ignored the people who were trying to be nice to her and started paying more attention to the kids that fulfilled whatever stereotypes she wanted to write about for the story. And so that was interesting. So it's interesting that in every generation, a news reporter will come who will criticize the current the current teens.
Did you know she was a reporter when you know she was a reporter?
No, she was undercover.
Oh, she was undercover.
She came in and was supposed to be a new student. So she was introduced as a new student in class to the classes. So she was introduced as a new student in one of my classes. So I was trying to be nice to her. She had makeup on. She looked young enough to be a high school student. I guess.
Oh, that's interesting. Funny.
I mean, I remember her as having long curly brown hair and being a little portly. That's all I remember.
Okay.
I don't know if she looked young enough to be a high school student. She didn't ring any bells for me, but she was introduced as a student. So, it wasn't my job to determine how old someone looked or not.
Okay.
I think I was 15 at the time. So, yeah. But so that was fun fact, diversion. And yeah, I think that's it that's all that immediately comes to mind for outdoor spaces that kind of ping a certain feeling for me. I mean, other than obviously I really love thunderstorms, and I love them in part because I spent a summer in New York when I was a kid, and I think that was the first time I experienced a thunderstorm, because we don't really have them in California very often. So the notion of just looking out a window and it being so rainy and thunder and lightning, so that also made a large impression on me. But that's not an outdoor space so much as a weather pattern. And so then going to school in Vermont later, just thunderstorms were really a fun, novel experience. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was terrified of thunderstorms. But as an adult, I've grown to really love them. I didn't realize how much I missed them until I came back to the East Coast.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I like. That the whole notion of having a four season year is something I really enjoy about the East Coast. like the having a hot, humid summer that gives you rainstorms, and then having snow that you can kind of stomp through in the winter. And I don't miss cricket season. Cricket season is traumatic. Traumatic because I remember being on campus. Karen and I went to college together, for those who don't know, and like forgetting that it's cricket season and then walking up to Jennings through the garden path as opposed to taking the wooded path. So you're walking through tall grass in flip-flops and trying not to step on baby crickets. Oh, it was the worst. It was so horrifying. The crunching, it was just so horrifying.
Oh, yeah, that is bad.
Oh, I don't miss cricket season at all, but I do miss thunderstorms and snow, and I don't miss mud. I don't miss crickets, and I guess those things coincide. But I do miss the notion of having like seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say Portland has seasons.
Yeah, it does.
Portland also has white supremacists, so.
Well, so does most of the country.
No, Portland, I think they keep them out as I city limits. Karen, don't they have thunderstorms in North Carolina?
North Carolina.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of thunderstorms.
Yeah, that's what.
We've been having them just about every day recently.
Yeah, because when you mentioned, I think you mentioned vampires, the vampire book club. So when I think of the South, I always think of thunderstorms, and then this is the South. It's like bad things happening, like the Ku Klux Klan riding around and with hooded things, and then the horse rearing in the background. There's a thunderstorm flashing, and then that kind of stuff. That's what I think of the South. So
what a horrible association with wonderful thunderstorms.
Yeah, I'm just I mean bad basically in movies, thunderstorms is usually the prelude to something that's not. I don't know why bad things. They never seem to attack on sultry summer nights with the full moon. There's always thunder, and then the flash, and then yeah.
I feel like you're reading the wrong novels. If you were reading more romance novels, then you would have more thunderstorms on sultry summer nights.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I've read a lot of Mills and Boons, and I guess it's because of course if there's no thunderstorm, there would be no reason for the guy to take off his coat and cover the woman. I mean,
you're on a picnic, you get caught in a storm, you have to run in, and then you have to change your clothes because yeah.
Pounded in the butt by the concept of weather.
No. No Chuck Tingle, goddammit.
Yeah. So
I don't know what Chuck Tingle is, but anyway.
You should look it up. Spend some time researching.
Okay.
So Karen, do you want to go next or should I?
You can go if you want.
Outdoors. I mean, I grew up in Oklahoma originally, and my only outdoor space is there. It's a city. It's a huge urban environment. It was at the time the third largest city in the world when I was a child in terms of the amount of land mass it takes up, not population. And it's just, a horrible urban environment. But we get massive flooding and thunderstorms and tornadoes. And I would sit on the front lawn just gripping the grass with my hand, watching the storms in the skies on tornado nights. But I guess for me, it's Portland. Portland as a city as a whole, just wandering the streets at night. All the parts that I love the most have been gentrified and taken away years ago, but I still love the city as a whole. And while they have thunder maybe once or twice a year, they have rain all the time, and they have snow, and they have a full 4 seasons, and it's still full of people that I love, and weather that I love, and architecture that I enjoy, and streets that I remember walking around at 4:00 in the morning, playgrounds that I've slept in a snowstorm when I was homeless. They have the largest forested area inside of the city limits in all of America called Forest Park. Just it is my ideal space. And the people, I could do without most of the people, but there's still a number of people there that I love a great deal and miss. And if I could uproot us and move us anywhere, that's where we would go.
Yeah. I've driven to Portland twice. My mother lived there for some time, and I just remember being a lot of green, and then the city. So, and I also remember you're right. You're both right that the people that you met driving to the city, were not super nice. But once you got to that, which was because you can't pump your own gas.
Yeah.
So which they seem to because in California you do pump your own gas, so they always get angry when you make the mistake of, oh, I want to pump my gas. No, you can't pump your gas here. Chill out. It's not a common thing. But then once you get to, and then I remember some parts being in there at night thinking, no, if young person might want to be out here. But once you get but Portland has always seemed like a very cool, and the television show is interesting as well. So
what television show?
There's been a bunch.
Portlandia.
Oh, okay.
And
I haven't seen that.
Grimm was shot in Portland, and there's been a number of shows that were shot up there.
Yeah, but he was talking about a particular show. That's what I was asking about.
Yeah.
I will say, the one time I went to Portland, that was also a road trip, and so it was kind of nice, like driving, seeing all the greenery at the side of the road. It kind of reminded me, not in the same way, but it reminded me a little bit of when I was driving around in, I think the one time I went to Georgia, because there's something about driving on a road where you've got like this dense foliage on either side that makes you feel very like you're, I don't know, in a different place entirely, like a different world entirely. It's very different from this experience of driving in California because you don't have all that greenery. So that was nice. And also the road trip up to Portland, I also got lots of photos because we had some beach. I don't remember the name of it on the way where there was, again, lots of rock formations. So that was kind of fun as well.
And we had a pretty good time when we went together.
Yeah, we did.
Sounds like it.
I will say the way you talk about Portland and all the rain makes me think of like the first time I visited Seattle, and it was for a birthday trip, and I wanted to go specifically because I was sad and I knew that in Seattle there would be rain, and so I just wanted to go to Seattle to be sad.
Yeah.
In the rain.
Yeah, I think of Portland as rain without the seriousness. Seattle is serious rain. Portland is rain, but more like hippie rain.
Though ironically, the first time I went to Portland, it was like the beautiful weather. There was no rain really, and I guess the second time there was more rain, but less rain than people would have expected. So I don't associate Portland with rain the way that I do Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Seattle rains more.
Yeah.
I've only been to Seattle once, and we got no rain at all the time we went. So that seemed weird. I haven't yet been to Portland. How long does it take to drive to Portland from the Bay Area?
Some hours.
Yeah, like maybe 11 hours.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You can if you leave in the morning, you'll get there by late night.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can break it up into 2 days. Like when I was driving up, we broke it up into 2 days, and then I think the driving back, we just did it in one big marathon because I had a time limit. So.
Or you could be a sensible person and fly.
Or not, if you like driving and actually
There's also a train that goes up there too. So.
Trains take forever though. That's the problem. Trains take forever, and
what is the rush?
They take forever, and they're more expensive than flying. So it's like you got a double whammy there.
Yeah, that's true. But,
And nowadays they don't go anywhere. They sell you a train ticket, but it's actually a Greyhound bus.
Oh,
really?
They do?
A lot of places, yeah. You'll buy an Amtrak ticket, and then you'll realize that part of your train trip is on bus.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, there's a train all the way to. I just realized there was a train from San Jose to LA, which I found out, and then later, I know there's a train. I hope it still exists. The train from here, because I want to take a train from here to Portland. So I want to do that. So hopefully, because I don't like Greyhound, so. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean Greyhound is definitely not as much fun as a train.
No.
Yeah, having done both across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, Karen, what about you?
Let's see. So I grew up on Long Island, and my grandpa lived in a little town called Jewett, New York, up in the Catskill Mountains.
Wait, how do you spell that?
Jewett. It was such a small town, he made the sign for the town's post office because he did a lot of working and stuff.
Nice.
So he designed his own house. My dad helped him build his barn. And it was kind of neat because the way I grew up for the most part with my parents on Long Island, I didn't get to get outside very much except to go to the beach now and then with my parents. My mom has OCD, so we were kind of almost kept captive in a sense in the house most of my childhood, except when I got to go to my grandparents.
Or when you took up with your sisters, like you told us that time.
Yeah. Yep. That was a place where I could kind of like cut loose and run around outside and just do whatever. Nobody really cared. I think that's where my love of nature really started to come from. 'Cause otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten exposed to it. He had a pond. He taught me how to row a boat. Got to hang out with the raccoons and the deer. Got to catch butterflies. And I learned that if you catch a butterfly and you put it in a jar, it will die. That occurred to me at 8 years old. And I was horrified that happened. And my grandpa tried to make it better by flattening the butterfly, putting it underneath plastic so I could take it home as a preserved specimen. But that was like worse because then I had this dead butterfly in my room. I didn't know what to do. So it was mildly traumatizing. But anyway. Yeah, so
Very nice.
I think that mountain landscape kind of stuck with me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been exposed to that. Then I got to go to college at Bennington, which is also, I don't know if we were in the mountains or in the foothills. I'm not sure.
I just think of it as being up a hill. I felt like we were just...
Yeah, it was up a tall hill.
I could never bike up that hill.
I remember a lot of green and a lot of cows.
Yeah.
I remember green. I don't remember cows, but I guess there must have been. It was...
There were some in the neighboring towns, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, there I had the same kind of feeling like where I could just, and also being away from home, that helped a lot too. But I probably spent more time like hiking in the woods and doing stuff like that than actually doing homework and schoolwork while at Bennington, I think.
Nice.
And then I got to come to California and stay for 13 years. And that was a totally different landscape than the East Coast for me. Like the ocean's different because on the East Coast it's mostly flat, sandy kind of beaches, and West Coast has all these rocks and things that I wasn't used to seeing. And the Pacific Ocean just strikes me as more, I don't know, it's a little more rough, I think. You can't easily swim in it, and it's cold. But it's also very beautiful. And the redwoods, that was different. So I think, I feel like all these landscapes like leave different marks on me somehow. I don't know, and I still think about them, all of them, at different times. And it's weird thinking that some of them are not there anymore. Like I don't know what Bennington looks like now. I hope like there's a spot called the End of the World where the hill kind of drops off, and people go there and they make out or whatever. And I wonder if like, is it still the same? Like, are there Adirondack chairs still out there? I hope so. It's weird to think about Big Basin not existing as I knew it. It's weird to think that my grandpa's house probably looks a lot different now. Who knows if it's still in one piece? Maybe the land's been divided up and sold. I don't know. Yeah, so it's just strange to me to think about like these landscapes are so firmly ingrained in my mind the way I remember them. And now they don't exist that way anymore. And in some ways, I don't want to see them as they are now. I want to keep them in my memory the way I know them.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. It makes me think of that concept of not being able to go home again. And I don't know the context of that quote because I've never read that particular book. But I guess in some ways it's because maybe your mindscape, if you're talking about like not being able to go home again in terms of not being able to recapture your childhood because you're not that person anymore, you kind of grow out of it. That's one thing. But then you also can't go home again because in some ways once you leave home it doesn't really exist anymore because time doesn't stop.
I think it's more the latter, that the world continues to grow without you there, and when you return the place isn't the same.
Yeah.
So it only exists in one. Well, it's also interesting how many people are walking around with, because I guess a place only exists a certain tradition at a certain point of time, but people who live in the place at that time, they have the picture in their brains, and then the place lives in their minds for a time, and then once they die, the place is completely gone. And then, but the people who live there now also remember it the way it is then, and then it changes. It keeps going on and on and on. Also, it's also interesting where things revert backwards, where towns that because most places we're talking about are towns that have moved forward, where they've developed and they've changed forward. But I've also know there are places where people have abandoned the towns, or like there's John Mellencamp has a song, abandoned roads in the middle of the country. So he's talking about all these towns where they used to have manufacturing towns in the country, and now they've abandoned them because jobs moved away. Or in the Velvet Sister took me to see a movie. Among the many she's taken me to terrorize me with, the one with the blind man in the house. Yes.
Oh, first of all, you took me to that movie. That movie was your idea.
No, actually, no.
Don't breathe.
Was it?
Don't breathe. That was your idea.
No, I thought we might need to go to see it, but I thought you first brought it to my attention, and then I said we should go see it. Anyway, the point is that we saw the movie, and I saw it with you, and it was terrifying. Okay, and
but
it was about Detroit, and this guy lived in this house where these neighbors were, there were miles of abandoned houses, and only a few of them are occupied by people because everybody's moved away. Because I thought that's interesting, like these places that where once people lived and did all these things and raised their children, things happened and now they're just gone. It's just weird.
Abandoned houses, abandoned storefronts, all the stuff that suddenly stops, I guess, being alive when the finances suddenly leave an area.
Or people see that would be, I can see that being really sad. So, I mean, the people who live in Asaba now, I'm sure they probably prefer it the way it is now because there's much more to do and they have an airport. I can't believe I'm saying that, whatever. But so they probably the way I remember it is probably not as pleasant as they do. But I don't know. It's just but I think it'd be even worse if it went backwards where now the goats are taking over. Now they're just completely abandoned to the jungle or whatever, which is so it's interesting. So. But I think there's going to be a lot of that coming up in the future because the world, it seems like this climate change is really a real thing. It seems like, it's not a hoax. There really is global warming. Who would have thunk it? Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe it's global warming, or maybe we just need to spend more time sweeping the forest,
That's true. Or maybe it's just, there's always change, and maybe this is just the normal passage of time, and maybe if we managed our forests better, It's just, I don't know. Somebody's fascinatingly enough, your mom called me to ask about the Democratic
National Convention.
I thought that was hilarious because, your mom usually isn't interested in politics, and I guess, it's just weird. It's just weird.
Did you call her back, by the way?
I did. I did. Oh, very much. I did. Call her. She called me yesterday, and I called her back, and I didn't know what she was asking about. But just as far as things changing, it's like I didn't watch a single minute of the current conference because why would I? I already know. So there's only one choice to vote for. So they're not really any. So why would I need to watch all the speeches? So but I guess people are. She was very concerned about the future of them and whether she's to be worried that Mr. or current president might win again, which I'm not convinced that he's not going to. My point is that because relates to this conversation, that it seems like he's making all these really changes to the post office, things that the post office is something that who would have thought the post office would change? I mean, that's just crazy. It's like I don't know, and that's the one that's the thing that's changed from the past. Post office was something that was just stable through presidents. It never was a political thing, and that's the one that finally got me okay, this is something this is not good. Yeah.
It makes me think about that film Hollywood Shuffle, that Robert Townsend film, where the main character's mother always says you can always get a job at the post office.
Yeah.
And now, not so much true.
I find it hard to because it seems like I mean I'm a bit discombobulated because it seems like that's something that should not, that it seems to be like why would it change? And it wasn't broken, so how could it possibly change? I mean, it seems like just the simplest application of logic would apply that you shouldn't change that for any reason, and it seems like he's changing it and then nobody's stopping him. I mean, that seems completely bizarre. It's just very, 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 very disconcerting. So, and weird, because,
Yeah,
so.
it is weird. So Karen, do you have any sort of closing thoughts for this topic?
I've been thinking about too with the pandemic, how I don't know if this is true for everyone, but I find it harder to get out in nature lately because I used to go more with groups or like organized outings. I'm not so inclined to go out, at least around where I am, by myself. So I did think of a challenge. Maybe, if it's safe to do so in all the smoke, can we each get outside for like 20 minutes this week?
Actually, Gherkin, you have a gas mask, so you could probably wear that, right?
I have to lock the door because I just had a big fight with somebody. Because it's going to sound horrible to say, and I'll just
someone
say,
under 6 feet, under 5 foot.
No, not to her, somebody else. Because see, all these fires are burning. Okay, now I grew up in Nigeria, where every year, the farmers burn. They practice what's called there's a word for it, where they plant crops in a certain area, and then they burn. When they finish harvesting all the stuff, they burn all the stuff on top of it, move to another piece of land, and let that piece of land fall over. There's a name for it. There's an official name for it. So every year around November, the Hamatan season, they're just the smoke. It's smoky like this. It's smoky like this, and the sun is blotted out, and that's the time when they have the best the suya. They certain the Muslims' Ramadan season is also during that year as well. So I associate that time of the year with smoky skies and that kind of stuff.
Suya is a spice, right?
What's that?
Suya is a spice?
Oh no! It's the meat, roasted meat.
Yeah, but it's got it, and the suya spice is what goes on the meat.
Yeah. It has certain peppers. It's a particular type of pepper they put on it. So it's global Nigerian street food. You can find anywhere in Nigeria, and it's house of people because cows don't grow over in Nigeria. So they roast this meat and you can find it. And for some reason, the suya they cook during what we call the dry season. The end of dry season, Hamatan season, is the best. But the point is that I actually went out with my daughter with kite flying, and as you can imagine, not many people were out, so whatever. But it was great winds. The winds were out, and we're flying these kites, and the sun was all blocked out by this thing. And I was thinking, this so much reminds me of Nigeria and all kind of stuff. But of course, here it's like there's all this warnings about
air quality
and stuff, and I just, I have to confess that I just don't feel the same because, from my childhood, again, I'm not. Everybody else is free to cover their own to do what's comfortable for. But I guess because of my childhood, because I grew up all summer after summer after, and this is all over Nigeria, Warri, Lagos, whatever. Everywhere I went, every dry season, this thing is done, and I don't know. Maybe I'm going to die sooner than I would have otherwise, but I just don't see it. So, but anyway, maybe the trees here burn differently. So whatever. So, but my point is that the good thing about going out, though, I wouldn't advise walking in woods, Karen, especially with vampires running around where you are, whatever. So, as a young lady, even if you go with your wife, whatever.
If you start to see any of the Southern Gothic aesthetic, just back away.
I watch a lot of true crime, and it's just so often, somebody's jogging, young lady jogging, and it's like a trope. She's jogging, disappears, gets off a bus, disappears. Don't do that. But
no jogging, no getting on buses.
Well, alone was what I'm saying, alone or without weapons. Okay, so yeah. But the good thing is that I think a lot of people are staying inside. So if you go out into nature, or whatever, there are not as many people there as there would be normally. I think that's one good thing that's happened.
Not as many evil people.
Well, no, I think evil people are still out because evil doesn't take a holiday. If you're a serial killer, you have to kill. That's what you have to do. That's your job. A pandemic's not going to stop that. So that's what I'm saying. And they're probably not getting no prey. So if the victims of opportunity would be much more willing. My point is that be careful. Okay, take weapons.
If you see a wolf wearing a house dress and a bonnet, also back away.
If you go, yeah. or ask them really strict questions over, and get photographic evidence, get some whatever. Don't be fooled
If
by.
they have sharp teeth, don't ask about them. That's impolite anyway.
Exactly. Or definitely, if you see a guy on the way there, a woodman on the way there, don't blow him off. Whatever, tell him where you're going so he can rescue later. That kind of stuff.
Naked man in the woods, eyebrows meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Stay back.
Yeah.
2 children with breadcrumbs also, just stay back.
Stay back.
You can't trust creepy children.
Yeah.
I will say
a
that
woodsman, just a woodsman in general, a woodsman, don't.
Don't?
So just stay back.
Okay.
Well, you want the woodsman. The woodsman in what's the Red Riding Hood was good. That's the only one. I think that's the only example of a good woodsman in the story.
You mean Snow White and the Huntsman?
No, I'm talking about the
Little Red Riding Hood. Got it. Yes.
The Red Riding Hood when the wolf.
Did he have an axe?
He did.
Yeah. You definitely need an axe to chop your way out of a wolf's stomach. I think that's basic.
Exactly. So my point is that hopefully we can all get out, and I think what you're saying is that we should get out to nature, and I highly advise that. I don't think sitting in homes all this time is definitely not good. So I think we should definitely get out. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have some furniture in the backyard now, so we can just walk out the back door and sit under a tree. Though I've realized that being out in nature, in some ways is cool, and in some ways it makes me very nervous because I realized that grass makes me itchy. I'm paranoid about insects, and if I'm sitting under a tree, I'm worried about something from the tree falling on me. So it's like I have to find balance somehow.
I'm super helpful because I'm afraid of all the same things.
Yes.
Okay.
You can get a tent. You can get a tent.
You're gonna get married in the backyard?
Sorry?
You're gonna get married in the backyard?
That's what I was saying.
Well, we're not gonna have our honeymoon in the backyard. I mean, we're just out there to get married.
I did just get a tent though, so we'll have to figure that out.
Okay.
Make a green screen inside. Then you can make the 3D thing on it later.
Oh, we can make a green screen box.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. Get your outdoor swimming pool, turn it upside down, so you stand inside it, then paint the inside of it green. Then you have a circular thing, and then you can put cameras all in it. Then you could all log in, and then we have different backgrounds, whatever. These are
really smart. And I do know someone who made a green screen box once, so I could ask him about that.
I have a green screen.
Yes, but a green screen box.
Yeah,
so
but
like all sides.
You just have to build a wall and hang the green screen on it.
Yeah, on all sides.
Then they get a 360-degree camera.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
And then we could wear all green, and then we wouldn't have to worry about what we're wearing for the wedding because we could just green screen the outfits as well.
Yeah, because your wedding, I'm sure that people, I'm not sure if people are going to come to the wedding, but so I'm sure that you want whatever they see when they log in to see the actual ceremony to be really cool. And we're just saying.
Yeah, I mean, people who want to do a socially distanced in-person thing are welcome up to a limit of, 10. And then otherwise, anyone else can come virtually. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so our challenge for next week then is to spend 20 minutes admiring the bounty of the world outside of our windows. And with that said, I think, are we okay with bringing this episode to a close?
Yes.
You wouldn't be down with a complete 3D wedding because we come with avatars?
No.
Okay. Forget it. Yes, I'll be willing to close.
I mean, if someone
no.
If someone can figure out how to make that happen, I'm all here.
He said he wasn't into it, so that's
well, no. If you want to design us a 3D wedding on the internet, maybe that's something we can do.
It'd be like being in The Matrix, or like being in that other movie that isn't The Matrix but still involve people in 3D environments.
Lawnmower Man.
I haven't seen that, so no. But something. Anyway, okay. So thank you for listening to another edition of the Velvet Ramble podcast. If you would like to participate in the conversation, feel free to leave a comment. If you are on a platform that allows you to leave a comment, feel free to rate the podcast because rating is cool. I don't know how it works, but if you know how to do it, then we could do with a rating or two, or
review,
constructive feedback, or yes, a constructive review. If you would like to send us an email and participate in the conversation that way, feel free to send an email to velvetramblepodcast@gmail.com.
Have you ever sent us an email?
No, it's never happened, but I
good.
I live in hope.
I'll be terrified. I'll be terrified if it ever happened.
Well, then we should definitely make sure that it happens. And if you'd like to find out about other podcasts in the podcast family, you can visit picklewater.com and find out about this podcast, about I'm Not Here to Argue, another podcast we do, and, other, and the Ridiculous Life of Clown, and some other podcast whose name I'm forgetting, but that also exists. Anyway, and with all that said, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.